For the last time ever, we're going to have the Ultra Premier Classic Cup available again here. Going to not allow any legendary Pokemon, any mythical Pokemon, or any Ultra Beast, and also no XL candies. This makes this cup very interesting and most likely a thing that most people are going to play. Sadly, last time ever, they're going to remove Classic Cups from now on. Let's take a look at the meta. If you haven't seen the video already earlier about the Open World League, check that out, but now we're going to take a look at the Premier Classic Cup. What we're going to see here is a ton of changes due to the recent buff of Wing Attack especially. We see Charizard now as the top Pokemon, which wasn't the case ever before. I think there was never a meta, I think, where Charizard was rank 1 in the rankings, which is now the case here. If you still haven't got a Charizard with a Wing Attack and Blast Burn together, please do. It's definitely a very, very cool Pokemon to take a look at. Gliscor as well. Out of the first 5, I mean, 2 are the same Pokemon kinda, but like 4 of them have a Wing Attack, which is kinda crazy. But yeah, definitely Wing Attack buff changed a lot of things. If we take a look at what other Wing Attack users are available, we see Pidgeot, non-XL, don't really usable, Mantine not really usable because it also needs XL. Staraptor seems to be the only real other Wing Attack user that you could use. Actually interesting that Yanmega has also Wing Attack, but I don't think that anybody going to play this one. But otherwise, you're going to see a very classic meta again. You're going to see something like Dragonite a lot. You're going to see something like Trevenant a lot. You're going to see something like Swampert a lot. Swampert has now also the option to destroy Gliscor and Charizard, which makes it very, very decent. As well as Steelix got access to Psychic Fangs, Drakes is a little bit better as well. Aurorus is actually a Pokemon I would really want to take a look at it later because it's a very cool new Pokemon that will do a lot of damage and will be a very cool core breaker for this meta. Aurorus going to go nowhere. This thing's going to be everywhere again. Gyarados is a hidden gem. Like, Gyarados definitely something we're going to take a look at as well. Very, very cool Pokemon that you can use in the new meta. Way better than before, even though you don't have Wing Attack, of course, with it. But we see Escavalier still going to have some impact. Fighting types in general going to be very nice. Snorlax still a very good save swap that you can definitely use, and we have also a team with that available, I think. Obstagoon is something that you can use for all those Ice-type Pokemon that are now a little bit more common, because we have more Flying-type Pokemon, we also have more counters for Flying-type Pokemon. And for the counters from Flying-type Pokemon, Obstagoon is pretty decent against them. Otherwise, nothing too crazy. Nidoqueen is actually still that high, which is interesting, but yeah, you don't really want this anyway. Lapras still very, very cool, but yeah, let's take a look at the teams. The first team here going to be, of course, one of those lame meta teams. We're going to have the Warren in the lead. We're going to have the Sasop of the, Charizard. Charizard going to be one of the most common Sasops. Could be a little bit of an issue if they're going to be more water types in the back trying to counter this. Could imagine some teams actually with Swampert in the back as well now. But yeah, we're going to have in the back some good Pokemon that can also fit well with it. Of course, Trevenant does make a lot of sense. Like, you already know the Warren plus Trevenant core. So there's not a lot that really beats that other than Obstagoon. And then otherwise you could also use Surfetch in the back that completely destroys Obstagoon. And also is pretty decent in general as a core here. Like, again, I think Surfetch might be even a little bit better. Surfetch is very good against steel types. You have a lead that's very good against like flying types, so you should be pretty fine. Then you have a Sasop that can do something against both of those Pokemon as well. Very, very cool team here, of course, very meta team, but definitely something I would recommend you to try out. Charizard and Warren can of course both be also Shadow version there, definitely worth it as well, especially the Charizard definitely Shadow version is definitely better there in my opinion, just because you have more pressure with the charge moves, does more damage, your fast moves do more damage, and you don't really need the bulk most of the time, so I think the Shadow version is a little bit better. But yeah, definitely a lame team, but we have some more interesting ones coming up. Next up, we're going to have a team around Aurorus. Aurorus in the lead will be able to do a lot of damage against this flying type Pokemon, also going to be able to hardwall something like the Gliscor or the Charizard. All of those you can deal with pretty well. And then we're going to have 2 fighting types in the back for those steel types, which you have literally no option to hit with this. And I think this team must be really fun to use as well. Usually I would recommend you to use Surfetch as a save swap here, because you would have access to Brave Bird, you have access to something like Leaf Blade, which is going to be neutral against a ton of stuff in the meta. But actually now where like Charizard is pretty common, maybe Machamp is a little bit better as well, because you have access to Rock Slide, more flying types are available. Maybe Machamp might be the better say swap here. At the end of the day, it really depends on what you're going to face. There's nothing that's like completely clear, the better say swap here, but I think this team looks like a lot of fun. Should be also pretty fast to use, which is kind of cool. And we can take a look at the next team. The next team is going to be with 2 Pokemon in the lead that you could potentially use. Again, Trevenant and Walrein Core. Something that you will see, I think, a lot of times as well if you play against it. So Obstagoon might be a good pick for you as well if you want to play some anti-meta. But if you don't want to be super weak to Obstagoon, or maybe just try the Dragonite in the lead, which also kind of handles the same stuff. Kinda, you need something for fighting types, which both of the Pokemon in the lead here would be able to resist, and you need something for steel types, which, interestingly enough, there are not a ton of good steel types. The best steel type, I think, is kinda Escavalier. Like, there would be Steelix, but not everybody has like a 100% Steelix at level 40. So I think that this should still be very, very fine. Also, Steelix is not as bad for the backline because you're still going to be able to do neutral damage with your Icicle Spear. And of course, you're going to have the Walrein with the Earthquake. But yeah, Superpower makes Dragonite definitely a way better lead here as well for this team. Aurora's in the back, kind of just don't want to align this thing against either a fighting type or a steel type. So you have your Walrein as a say swap, and this should be a pretty solid team again. Let's take a look at the next one. The next team is actually also one of my favorite that I built here. You're going to have the Gliscor in the lead here. You can definitely use the Shadow version. Same goes for basically every Pokemon on this team. All of them have the Shadow version already available. I think especially the Shadow version for the Snorlax as well would help you out a little bit because you do more damage with a lick. But it's a pretty simple concept. You're going to have a fighting type resist in the lead there with the Gliscor, which has now access to the buffed wing attack, which is definitely way better as well. You're going to have a say swap that can also deal with steel types, which like is the main reason why you have the Gliscor there in the lead as well. With the Snorlax going to be amazing in this meta, by the way. Yes, they are fighting types, but you are very neutral against a lot of Pokemon in this current meta, so that's going to be a very strong Pokemon to use. And then you have the Lapras in the back. You might think now, oh, can I not just use my Walrein in the back? You could theoretically, but I wouldn't really recommend it to you because Lapras has access to Surf, and Surf allows you to beat Auroras most of the time, unless they bait you, I think, the entire time, but otherwise you're pretty okay against it. So otherwise you're gonna get wrecked by Auroras, that's why I went for Lapras instead. You could also use something else than Lapras in the back, to be fair. Just kinda has to answer those Pokemon that your Gliscor doesn't want to face. For Lapras as well, I think Skull Bash is the way to go. There's no real reason for you to run Ice Beam. Yes, you have Gliscor, but also Gliscor dies to some Ice Shards plus some Surf damage. Here we're going to have the Say Swap of the Walrein again, and we're going to have the Charizard in the back. This team seems like I throw together 3 random meta Pokemon and look how it's gonna go. Kinda is like this, not gonna lie, but no. We're going to have, of course, a lead here that's super weak to grass type moves. We're going to have a say swap here with the Walrein, which at least has access to Powder Snow plus Icicle Spear, which can deal with grass type Pokemon, and it's a pretty neutral matchup, and it's going to be a pretty decent say swap. As well as you're going to have the coverage for Earthquake, which is going to be interesting for potential Pokemon that like steel types or whatever that wants to come in there as well. And then you're going to have the Charizard in the back, which is going to be the best answer for this. Also, what you really want to achieve with the Walrein Say Swap is to get out potential electric types. And this is something that I think not a lot of people would see there, but you're going to have a Pokemon in the lead with the Swampert that's pretty decent against electric types. You're going to have a Pokemon with the Walrein here, which has access to Earthquake, which can kill electric types, but still going to be weak to electric types, so it's going to bait them out. And then you're going to have a Pokemon in the back that basically is mainly weak to electric types as well. With the Charizard, other Pokemon that you can bait out as well with the Walrein going to be the Auroras. So it has some very good functionalities here with the Walrein Say Swap to basically get rid of the counters for Charizard, which might be cool, as well as you have very good answers to other Charizards, which is cool, and also to Gliscor. So I think this team, while it looks a little bit weird, might be one of the best that you can use right now, which is kind of funny. The next team going to be basically a reverse version of my Dragon Double Steel lines that I usually use for the Ultra League version here, especially for the non-XL version with the Escavalier in the lead this time around and the Dragonite in the back. This time around we have the Say Swap of the Charizard, which might be pretty cool for the Say Swap here as well for this team. A little bit tricky sometimes, maybe against something like a Swampert. Swampert might be a little bit tricky to deal with with, but otherwise should be pretty fine. If you face a Swampert, I think I would just stay in, to be fair, and just see what you can do. Then you can still farm down with your Dragon Knight there. If you get a shield advantage, it's very, very nice for your Charizard, especially if you have the Shadow version. If you have a Shadow version of either of the Pokemon in the back, they are both better as a Shadow version in my opinion, so definitely something you should use. And yeah, that's going to be it for this team. Let's go to the final one. For the final team, we're going to have the buffed Auroras again, but also Gyarados in here. Gyarados most likely going to be the best Pokemon to use as like a safe swap version, or also like an elite here, because it's just so safe against nearly everything in the meta. Beats Fighting types, beats Charizard, beats Gliscor, has so much potential against nearly everything. It's so neutral against everything. If you have the Shadow version, use the Shadow version. Like whatever you want to do, it's really, really decent. Of course, with Dragon Breath here again, I really don't like Dragon Tail, to be fair. I don't think it's worth it in Elite Team for this Pokemon. But Dragon Breath definitely the way to go, and should be such a strong Pokemon in the current meta. Like honestly, so many fighting types going to be available, so many like fire types going to be available, so this will kind of destroy them all. So I would expect also a lot more Gyarados coming in. But that's going to be it for the video. If you have enjoyed this video, please leave a like on it. It helps me out way more than you expect. Also subscribe if you haven't already, and I hope I see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day. See you later for the Ultra League Premier Cup most likely. Bye.